What's up, y'all? It's David. So glad you could join me today. I think it's like day 1030 of stay-at-home order. I was gonna say quarantine, but it's not really quarantine because you're not being forced to stay at home. Well, at least not in California. In LA, it's a stay-at-home order. I think they're trying to lift that soon. I'm not going anywhere until I'm told there's a vaccine. I'm just keeping it very real. I have no intention of traveling. I have no intention of going across country. We have a bunch of stuff going on in the fall that I would love to be back in DC for, but if I'm not vaccinated, I don't know if I'm getting on a plane. Yeah, survival is the name of the game right now. People are doing what they have to do. People are having to work. People are having to go to the grocery store. People are wearing masks. Some people aren't wearing masks, which is crazy. Wear a mask. I think a lot of people who are used to being passerby spouses, passerby boyfriend, girlfriends, seeing each other in the evening, seeing each other in the morning, then you're at work all day. But being on top of each other all day is a whole different experience. And I think that my wife and I have figured out a couple ways to really, really make this thing work. Some days are going to be better than others. Some days are going to be harder than others. If you got children or pets or other family members around, it's going to make the dynamic even tougher. But here are three ways that I think you can do it. The first one, maybe the most important one, is communicate. And you hear that in a lot of different counseling sessions. You hear that as a lot of tips for most people in most situations, because as human beings, that is our only way of expressing what's going on, right? So if you're not communicating, if you're not over communicating, then you're missing a lot of opportunities to get rid of all of the gray area. Like my wife and I, we have the same where we just don't believe in gray. Like there should be no assumptions. There should be no trying to figure out anything. If you have an issue or you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have feedback, if you have something that's really, really, really bothering you, you got to say it immediately. I believe wholeheartedly that if you're somebody who's struggling with an interpersonal issue, meaning that if you have drama with somebody on the other side, whether it's a coworker or your wife or your child even, if you're the one losing sleep over it, then it's your responsibility to get it off your chest. And a lot of people struggle with that, but now more than ever, being stuck in your apartment, in your house, in your closet, now's the time when you have to speak. But it doesn't just go one way, right? So if you're the one having the problem, you need to say something. But if you're the spouse or the boyfriend, the girlfriend, or the partner, or the child, or the parent who is struggling with what somebody else is going through, then you have to communicate and act on that as well. My wife and I have been doing a great job of making sure that when one of us is overwhelmed, when one of us is struggling in the moment, when one of us is ready to literally rip the heads off of our children, maybe it's time to go for a walk. Or maybe it's your turn to go grab groceries. Or maybe it's your turn to go grab In-N-Out or Tatsu ramen. Good stuff. Get the bold. That's my favorite. No, it's not bold. It's soul. Get the soul. That's my favorite. With extra thin noodles. Yeah, if you're seeing your partner or the person you're in this situation with, or anybody you're in this situation with, even from afar, if you see them starting to struggle, you have to encourage and communicate to them that it's time for them to go outside. Just stepping outside, take a break, get some fresh air, go for a walk, do something that makes you happy. Which brings me to my next point. You have to do the things that make you happy right now. If you don't feel like working anymore and you just need a break and you want to go build some Legos, then you got to go do that. Me as a true nerd dad, I've taken a bunch of the old Legos that my son has broken and is in a million pieces, and I'm rebuilding them from scratch. So yeah, this is supposed to be like the International Space Station. So it's got like these really sweet modules that, you can take off. Oh, look at that. What's going on inside there? Yeah. Legos make me happy. I've been putting in some time on my models. Yep. So I build model armies. Again, super nerd, but it makes me happy. What else have I been doing to make me happy? Oh, I've started Cheers. I know a lot of you watching this may remember the show Cheers. Maybe some of you don't know about it at all, but if you know Ted Danson from Good Place and from him playing Ted Danson on Curb Your Enthusiasm, I think his breakout was the show Cheers. It's also where the character Frasier came from. Awesome show. I'm loving it. So much better than I possibly could have remembered over my dad's shoulder growing up. But yeah, I'm just doing the things that make me happy, because I can't be a good spouse. You can't be a good partner. You can't be a good person in a relationship with anybody if you're super unhappy all the time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with feeling bad right now, because it's a very emotional time. It's a very intense time for all of us. But that's more of a reason why you have to do the things you feel like you need to do. You need to go and have a waffle. Experiment with a new painting style. Start a YouTube channel. Go find the things that you love to do and do those things right now. That's my recommendation for sure. That's number 2. Lastly, maybe most important, at least to me, because I'm a faith-based guy and I just try to be happy and try to be filled with all these things anyway, is giving yourself patience and grace in this time. And not just yourself, but all the people around you. Everybody you work with, everybody you talk to, your children, your wife, your husband, your friends, your parents, everybody who's going through this thing around the world. We all need a little bit of patience and a little bit of grace. Now, what's the difference? So patience for me is a timely thing. Patience is all about, like, let me take a moment. Let me realize that this person is going through a pandemic just like I am. Maybe they're not going to get their work done quite as quickly. Or, you know, my boys are 3 and 5. They're going through a pandemic also. Let me just chill out just a little bit. So let me give them just a little bit more time because they're stuck in the house also. Grace, on the other hand, is not about movement. You hear a lot of people talk about, dancing with grace or doing something with grace. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about goodwill. Give yourself the honor of allowing yourself grace in this time. Maybe you don't have to do the dishes every night. For us, it was down to TV time. So we used to be pretty strict with my boys about their screen time, but it's a pandemic. I can't manage the screen time the way I used to. And at first I was really frustrated by that. I was like, well, I'm going to screw up the whole schedule. I'm going to screw up the whole plan. But in reality, it's a pandemic. Let's just take a moment. They can watch a little bit of Sesame Street while they're eating their breakfast. They're not going to lose any mental capacity. They can maybe not clean up their room in its entirety, and it's not going to affect anything. If we learn anything from this experience, it's that our personal relationships are really more important than anything else. And I think it's almost serendipitous that so many of us are going to be locked away with the people that matter most to us right now. And it's only through doing some of these tips that I talked about, amongst millions of other things that you could possibly be doing. It's only through active participation that we're going to survive this. And more importantly, we're going to come out on the other side better. The entire world is already talking about resuming and what the world's going to look like. It's almost like a 9/11 moment, right? Where I remember being able to go all the way to the gate at the airports. I remember those things. My children are never going to know that. And their children may never know anything before this time right now. So let's recap. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Over-communicate. Do the things that make you happy right now, because that's the only way you're going to give yourself a little bit of a mental break in the midst of all this craziness. And then lastly, give yourself and all those you love and all those around you a little bit of patience and a little bit of grace. And that's going to go so far in this time. And you're going to find that when we get to the other side of it, we're all going to be so much better. Let me know down in the comments anything you're doing or any other tips you have for people. And right now is the time to be sharing. It's the time to be engaging. I pray you and your loved ones are well. And I hope to see you guys really soon. Bye.